Hi everybody, this is our second class on scientific contact. This page shows the whole syllabus for the Unit 2 scientific contact, and today we will be discussing on redundant publication, duplicate and overlapping publications, salami slicing, selective reporting and misrepresentation of data. First, let us see about redundant publications. And redundant publications occurs when the multiple papers are written without reference in the text and share the same text, data or result. Also, this refers to the situation that one study is split into several parts and submitted to two or more journals, or the findings have previously been published elsewhere without proper cross-referencing, permission or justification. Self-plagiarism is considered a form of redundant publication. It concerns recycling or borrowing content from previous work without citation. This practice is widespread and might be unintentional. Transparency by the author on the use of this previously published work usually provides the necessary information to make an assessment on whether it is deliberate or unintentional. Now, let us look deep into different redundant publications like duplicate and overlapping publications. Ethical research and publication practices are essential for honest scholarly and scientific research. Most journals today are keenly aware of this. They create policies on these issues and expect authors to be aware of and comply best practices in publication ethics. Here we discuss two widespread and related publishing practices that are considered unethical: duplicate publication and overlapping or simultaneous publication. It draws on definitive international publication ethics guidelines. When we talk about duplicate publication, it is the publication of a paper that is substantially similar to a published paper by the same author without acknowledging the source and without getting the permission of the original copyright holder. There may be superfluous or unnecessary difference between the original and the second paper, such as a new title or a modified abstract, but the data set and the findings stay the same. Why is duplicate publishing a problem? Republication of a paper without permission or acknowledgement is a serious breach of publishing ethics for the following reasons. Each violates copyright, as in most cases, the copyright for the paper lies with the journal and not with the authors. Thus, the authors are not free to republish the paper. It could distort empirical evidence because researchers studying the subject may erroneously or incorrectly count the same set of results twice because the results are presented in two separate papers. As empirical studies form the basis for policies and other medical or scientific decisions, this is a serious problem. And it amounts to self-plagiarism because it involves the use of material from another work without attribution or any change. It leads to a waste of editorial and review resources. It denies other authors the chance to publish their work by unjustly taking up limited or competitive journal space. It is a sign of poor scholarship and may indicate that the study contributes only marginally to the literature. What do journals and ethical guidelines have to say about the issue? Ethical and editorial committees and academic journals explicitly, that is, clearly instruct authors not to submit papers or variations of papers on studies that have already been published elsewhere. Several journals have stringent policies that require authors to send copies of older related articles along with the submitted paper if the study findings and subjects overlap. Some journals are very specific and require that this be done when the overlap is more than a certain percent. Others permit only a few identical sentences. Previously published results or larger portion of text taken exactly from the author's older publication without acknowledgement are not accepted. However, republication is also permitted in case of specific article types. They are a complete paper that follows a published preliminary report. Like for example, an abstract, poster or conference presentation. A paper listing guidelines prepared by professional societies or governmental agencies which needs to be disseminated or distributed to a wide and varied readers. A paper that substantially reanalyzes the study findings or reinterprets the results for a different audience. A translation of the original paper. While the expectations can be made, authors must stick to the following guidelines in these cases as well. Get permission from the copyright holders. Get approval from the editor of the journal in which the paper was first published and the editor of the journal in which it will be republished. Acknowledge that the paper has been republished in full or is based on a previously published paper and provide the full citation for the primary publication. And the do's and don'ts for authors in the above situation are: do not replicate content from any of your other published papers. Do not offer preliminary reports about unpublished papers to the media, companies, or other agencies without the permission of the journal. When quoting material from your previously published work, do not include more than a few sentences from the older work. Also, place the text in quotation marks and cite the source. When using a single dataset to write more than one manuscript, ensure that each manuscript addresses separate and important questions. The manuscripts are cross-references. You inform the journal editors about this matter in a cover letter. And if you have published related papers, provide details of these papers to the journal editor at the time of submission. Include copies of these papers with the submitted manuscripts. This will ensure full transparency and will help the editor make the right decision. Now let us see what is overlapping or simultaneous publication. This publication refers to the practice of submitting the same manuscripts to two or more journals at the same time without informing the journal editor that the manuscript has been submitted elsewhere. It has also been termed multiple submission or dual submission. While duplicate publication involves the submission of a previously published manuscript to another journal, simultaneous submission involves the submission of a manuscript that is under consideration to another journal. Hope you understand. Now, why is overlapping or simultaneous submission a problem? Although some researchers argue that this practice is not dishonest and is merely a way to encounter the long drawn out journal publication process, journals consider it to be unethical publishing behavior for the following reasons. A copyright violation or a copyright dispute could arise if more than one journal decides to publish the paper. It leads to a waste of academic and scientific resources as two or more journals would spend time and money on carrying out the same production task. However, in some exceptional cases, multiple submissions may be allowed provided the authors have notified editors of all the journals involved about the concurrent submission. These exceptions are listed below. When the editors of the two or more journals agree to simultaneously or jointly publish the paper because doing so is in the best interest of society at large. When scholarly or scientific conferences explicitly authorize authors to simultaneously submit papers to other meetings with overlapping submission periods. Now, what are the do's and don'ts for authors? Do not submit the same manuscript to more than one journal. If you wish to submit a paper that is under consideration at one journal to another journal, you have to follow certain points. Get written consent from your co-authors, if any. Write the first journal editor about this, asking that the paper be withdrawn. Get a formal notification from the first journal editor that the paper has been withdrawn from consideration. Preserve this notification and present it to the second journal at the time of submission. If you have written two related papers and wish to submit them to two different journals, disclose the details of each paper to both journals. Inform the editors that you have a similar paper under review at another journal, even if these papers are written in different languages. Enclose copies of these papers along with your submission. Now let us move on to our next topic, salami slicing. Do you know what is salami? Salami is a type of Italian sausage made from meat mixed with seasonings and stuffed into a casting and dried. This is cut into thin slices to prepare the dish. Similar to this, here salami slicing refers to the practice of partitioning a large study that could have been reported in a single research article into smaller published articles. In other words, it means breaking up a single research paper into their least publishable unit, with each paper reporting different findings from the same study. A set of papers are referred to as salami publications when more than one paper covers the same population, methods, and research questions. What is wrong in doing this? Career distortions and harm to science. And let us see in detail. Salami slicing is widely regarded as a practice that researchers follow to increase their number of publications. In this short term, salami science may allow scientists and researchers to progress faster in their careers or receive more funding than they actually merit because of the greater number of publications they can list on their resume. However, salami slicing can be harmful in the long term since it diminishes the value of each publication. You may have managed to add a long list of publications to your name through salami publications, but if a committee were to review the body of work, they might conclude that the studies themselves are not substantial enough. And what is the harm to science? Publishing unnecessary and repetitive information increases the amount of literature but not the amount of knowledge. If closely related data from a single group is divided across several papers, readers who access only one of the papers may misinterpret the findings. Further, multiple reports may cause a set of findings to be given more importance than it deserves. Is it always wrong to report a single study through multiple papers? In some cases, where the original data set is extremely large, example a population-based study, and when the data set takes years to collect and analyze, the authors have justifiable and legitimate grounds to report the research in more than one paper. However, each paper should address distinct and important questions. If the study is motivated and designed around a single hypothesis, its result should be presented to the readers as a single package regardless of the size of the dataset. If you do have legitimate grounds to submit multiple publications based on the same study, ensure that you inform the editorial office about any possibility of overlapping information either before submitting a paper or in the accompanying cover letter. In addition, refer to all related studies within the manuscript. A paper will have a greater chance of publication as a full-scale study rather than a fragment of a larger study. Focus on quality of your publications, not quantity. Salami slicing to increase the number of publications on your resume might only end up sabotaging your research career at a larger stage. Our next topic is selective reporting. Selective reporting is also called outcome reporting bias. Selective reporting is a common problem in research. It can take the shape of many different skewed results, but some of the main types of this bias include actions such as omitting outcomes from the final publication of a study because of a selective decision that these findings were not significant enough to include in the article. Choosing data for an outcome based in random decisions or personal choices rather than including all collected data for a clear picture. Only reporting subsets of the data collected instead of using all the data to demonstrate a full understanding of a subject. Choosing to underreport data because of a decision that the changes in the collected information were not deemed to be significant by the researcher. These decisions are all personal choices that a researcher faces regularly. But when it is time to make the decision regarding data in an outcome, it's crucial that the scholar evaluates their choices to ensure selective reporting is not occurring. Ultimately, the best way to do this is to include everything that occurs in your research in transparent measures, whether you deem it important or insignificant. The more transparent you are with your data collection and methods, the more legitimate your work can be viewed. Now, let us learn more about selective reporting bias. Selective reporting bias is when results from scientific research are deliberately not fully or accurately reported in order to suppress negative or undesirable findings. The end result is that the findings are not reproducible because they have been skewed by bias during the analysis or writing stage. Selective reporting is one type of bias which undermines the integrity of academic research. Selective reporting bias can incorporate a number of other types of bias such as publication bias, where the results of negative clinical trials are not published or underpublished. Overcome reporting bias, where the results of negative clinical trials are cherry-picked or distorted to improve the overall findings. Spin, communicating results in a way which amplifies positive findings or tones down negative findings. Citation bias, positive studies are more likely to be cited than negative studies. Selective reporting bias, FFP, and other examples of research misconduct all contribute to a culture of mistrust in science and academia. However, journal editors can play a role in helping change this perception by upholding a culture of research integrity on their journals. Now let us discuss the consequences of misrepresentation of data. The misrepresentation of research findings may arise for a number of reasons. It may be willful, dishonest, accidental, partisan, political, ignorant, biased, careless, or any combination of these. Research is about to doubt and certainty, about complexity and simplicity. Research evidence may sometimes replace questions with greater certainty, while just as often such evidence may raise more questions than its answers. Sometimes researchers may claim a degree of certainty that is not warranted by the evidence. It is through understanding how research is misused that you will be able to understand better how it should be used. Common ways in which research findings are misrepresented are the following: flawed research, using findings out of context, stretching findings, distorted findings, uh, rejecting findings, ignoring findings. Now let us see one by one. Flawed research. It is if a piece of research has not been designed or carried out in a professional and ethical manner, then this will impact on the quality of the findings. Using findings out of context is that the researcher should understand that a study which was extremely successful in a particular town or country could not be replicated equally successful in other towns by other staff with other group of individuals. Research produced in other countries should also be treated cautiously as such research is not always transferable. Stretching findings. The results obtained from small sample sizes are generalized to larger sample sizes than the evidence supports. This is to say that small samples are necessarily unreliable, but that care has to be taken in drawing wider conclusions. Distorting findings. Selective or partial use of data, systematic use and misuse of research and monitoring data. The same information can be twisted to suit different ends. Rejecting findings. A common technique, much beloved of researchers themselves, is to undermine or reject research studies by the deployment of contradictory findings. Ignoring findings. Another systematic and well-established technique for dealing with research is to just pretend it isn't there. So let us conclude by saying misrepresenting data produces non-reproducible results, which in turn is not trustable or oftentimes ignored by the scientific community. Hence, unwarranted or misrepresented data becomes useless or non-usable and should be avoided. Hope you are clear with our topics today. Thank you.